Yeah.
We've got Lords of the Fallen, which is, very serious, R-rated medieval dark fantasy. Then we have Sniper Ghost Warrior, which is modern day first-person shooter. Just a completely different tone, different aesthetic, different audience in a lot of ways. And then we have Tales of Iron, which is a 2D hand-drawn fantasy game about anthropomorphic rats. So, just the variety is just absolutely amazing working in this industry across all the various different IPs. Lords of the Fallen being our lead IP currently. So that's part of the Souls-like genre, which probably has one of the most passionate gaming audiences of any genre. And I think there's a real reason for that. So if there's a particular boss or a level you're struggling with, there's very few ways other than getting better. And there's obviously the famous saying within that culture, get good, being the answer to pretty much any question. But what that's done is it creates this, and again, talking about moments in time, it creates this experience that if you say to me, right, you're playing this particular game within the Souls-like genre and you've just defeated this particular boss, I know exactly what you've been through in order to achieve that. And, I know myself that it may have taken 10 attempts and, the hours and the attempts and the frustration that took to achieve. And, suddenly there's an empathy there, there's a camaraderie, and there's a sense of common ground. There are tens of thousands of games releasing every year. And it's crazy how many different microcosms of culture these games have created. And I'm sometimes shocked when I come across a game that maybe I've never heard before, and it's got its own significantly sized online culture, and it's crazy. So, whatever people look for these days, they can pretty much find, and there's other people already into that. I think what's interesting is to see how younger gamers are using platforms like Fortnite and Roblox. Gaming's not only just for traditional gaming now, but it has become these online hubs where people just get together and hang out. And I think AI is going to just exponentially develop that even further. Gamers are very passionate. They sniff out authenticity immediately, and by nature of them being online, perhaps more so than maybe some other culture groups, that inauthenticity spreads quickly because these individuals are talking online a lot of their time. The other thing I think gamers really rebel against is not only inauthenticity, but someone trying to force a certain, I guess, commercial potential out of something, but by targeting a certain group. I think the brands that are performing best with today's culture are the ones that come across authentic and true to themselves, and aren't trying to force or push or leverage a certain audience or trend or whatever else it might be. This links to the rise of the streamer